swallowed it whole
Holy.
and digested it for
Nice.
a long time.
Imagine if we didn't even chew food and we just ate things and it just sat on our belly for like 2 weeks.
Today we're going to be watching 3 terrifying what-if scenarios.
What if Titanomboa snake didn't go extinct? Did I say that right?
Can you immediately name the largest snake in the world? I'll give you a...
Anaconda? Is it that the one that goes in the Amazon rainforest river and literally just lives in the water?
hint. This is the name of a very famous horror movie. Did you guess? Right, it's the anaconda.
My anaconda don't.
If we pair it with the largest crocodile,
Holy.
Cassius,
Yo, does ever think about crocodiles? That's a crocodile and alligator, right? They've both been alive for a very long time, right? They're like left over from the dinosaur age. But do you ever think about the fact that these things live, don't they live to like 200 years? Are they animals that are dinosaurs that were left over that didn't die? Or are they just animals that are relatives of dinosaurs? There's something about that, isn't there? There's something about that. They have some sort of relation to dinosaurs. And I don't know if it's because they're old enough for the dinosaurs or they literally are leftover dinosaurs. Either way, they look like velociraptors.
weighing almost 1 ton. You can write a script for a new horror film. But these giants are just babies compared to those that once lived on Earth for a
Why are we just putting dummies inside of animal? What?
long time. Take, for example, Chronosaurus and
Holy.
Titanoboa. Once, these two predators were a threat to all life, both on land. Once,
So that is actually the scale compared to an anaconda. The Titanoboa is like 4 times its scale.
these two predators were a threat to all life, both on land and in water. But what would happen if they still lived today? Could
Wow.
humanity survive, or
How would you know? I believe there's stuff down in the Marina Trench that people don't even know exists. Also, what about, we're talking about the krakens. There's krakens in the sea. Legitimately, there are ginormous squids in the sea. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. They do live today. You barely ever see them though. You rarely ever see them though. I'm sure there's something that's like 50 meters long, 50 meters in mass.
would it be the end of us?
And it's a squid.
Now, I'll
Kraken.
tell you about the ancient monsters that terrorized everything in their path. You'll learn when and where these monsters lived, and then we'll bring them to the present.
Okay.
You'll see whether these giants will capture our world, and if people will be able to put up a fight. Something tells me that today it's going to be very hot.
This guy's like,
Before turning on the time machine, let's get to know our characters better. We'll start with
this guy's like the original AI voice before AI voice became something. When did this video come out? It's like 7 years ago? 5 years ago, 40 million views. Jesus Riddle.
Titanoboa. This
seeing this
ancient
on thumbnail
snake
everywhere.
lived about 58 million years ago. And according to scientists, for at least 10 million years, it was the largest predator on the planet. Its length reached 13 meters or 43 feet.
Hold up. 13 meters would be what? Hold on. Jesus. I mean, that would be terrible to see in person. I mean, that's long, but it ain't that long. I thought it was going to say like 30 meters. That's not even as long as I thought it was going to be. Isn't that like anaconda size? Isn't an anaconda like 8 meters long? That's not even that bad. What I'm more scared about is its speed and its size and how silent it is and how silent it preys. It can be right next to you and it's going to eat you before, if you're sleeping somewhere. Sneak in through a door. You don't want to leave a crack open in your window. You don't want to be doing any of that. And you could be dead while it's mid-eating you.
And its weight exceeded a ton.
you're not dead
Can
when it's
you
eating you.
imagine this giant?
A ton.
Here's an
Not even that big,
illustration for you. If you laid 2
Wait.
giraffes on the ground, then Titanoboa will still be longer. Or you can just look at these 2
I'm just going to keep it real. I don't think it's that impressive. I was expecting like 50 meters.
vertebrae. The model on the left belongs to the anaconda, and on the right, Titanoboa. It turns out
So it's
that the
actually real.
largest snake living today is half the size of the ancient reptile.
Hey, but those anacondas, they do look massive IRL. They are freaky IRL, so maybe we should show a little respect.
In width, the mega snake could reach 1 meter or 3 feet. It could easily
Whoa. In width, it could reach... Holy!
swallow a young hippopotamus. True, in ancient times, there were no hippos. Titanoboa preferred to eat fish, and this monster could be found in dark swamps and rivers.
Unlikely. I don't be walking down the side of a footpath go past a little lake and see one of those things. That's for
In
damn
addition
sure.
to fish, it could feast on crocodiles. It was
Wow.
a sophisticated killer.
See, crocodiles, they just said it. That's what I'm talking about at the beginning of this video. Crocodiles existed when a titanoboa existed. So why did all the other dinosaurs die or perish? Or why did a titanoboa perish, but the crocodile still lived?
The giant monster attacked its victim and strangled it
what
in
you
its
said, didn't it?
strong embrace. Then the snake swallowed it whole and
Holy.
digested it for a long time.
Do you ever imagine doing that yourself? Imagine if we didn't even chew food and we just ate things and it just sat on our belly for like 2 weeks. Half a snake and our bodies just expanded. Have you ever thought about how much weirder human beings could have been? Like, I was watching Jurassic Park recently. I just thought to myself, because the way they shot Jurassic Park, where it's like, I don't know, they do the same camera angles on the human beings as they would on the dinosaurs. And you just start to think, wow, I guess a dinosaur kind of doesn't look that much different than from a human being. I mean, it's got eyes, don't it? It's got massive teeth, don't it? They're predators, aren't they? Just makes you think, are they really that much different?
The victim suffered a compression force comparable to 1.5 times the weight of the Brooklyn Bridge. So, put in numbers.
Wait.
The victim suffered a compression force comparable to 1.5 times the weight of the Brooklyn Bridge.
You're telling me that full slabs of concrete still could not outmatch the constricting strength of a titanoboa, something that's just 1 meter long, not even 50 meters long, but what was it, 13 meters long? You're telling me it has more crushing strength than being trapped and crushed by the Brooklyn Bridge? You're telling me that's...
So, put in numbers. That's 28 kilograms per square centimeter, 400 pounds per square inch. Even though the Kronosaurus was smaller in size, it was also a very bloodthirsty predator. Its
Look at its
wide-open
face.
mouth, full of many small teeth, speaks for itself. And the size of the predators comparable...
See, answer me this, riddle. Why is it a lizard can grow back its tail? So can't some animal grow back its head as well? Or whatever, but I can't grow back teeth. Why is that? I understand as human beings why we can't grow back teeth when a lizard can grow back its tail, why we can't survive extreme cold conditions, but isn't it a lizard can? Is a lizard? No, lizards need hot, but they're cold-blooded, so they need hot temperatures, right? Or they can't feel temperature. Why do we not have these secret superpowers that some of these animals have? That's what I've always wondered. They say that human beings are predators, but you put a human being in a cage with a tiger, who's going to win that fight 1-to-1, no weapons? I bet my entire life on the fact that you will never beat a tiger 100 times in a row. You never beat one. It's just not going to happen. Smart people will go,
Yeah, well, actually. Well, if you just give me a knife, then suddenly I could beat it 50 times. Never had a gun because I used my human ape brain to devise and make metal and turn it into weapons and make the weapons into some sort of a explosion inside the gun so it shoots a large piece of metal towards something. Well, actually, if I did that, well, I beat the tiger every single time before it even knows that I'm there.
no, you're cheating nature. But are you cheating nature, though? Because isn't it nature for a human being to figure out how to make a weapon to then defeat the tiger? Oh.
to the dimensions of an orca, also called a killer whale. To be more precise, the Kronosaurus reached a length of more than 10 meters, or 33 feet.
Again, this isn't even that impressive. Like, what are we getting at here? I was expecting like 50 feet beasts, or 50 meter beasts, and 45 meter beasts, whatever. 10 meters, that's scary, but it ain't as scary as it could have been. Where's the Kraken
And its
at?
weight could reach up to 12 tons. In its
Wow.
appearance, it was remotely similar to a modern 12 meters, or
10 meters, but 12
33
tons. What is
feet.
it, big boy?
And its weight could reach up to 12 tons. In its appearance, it was remotely similar to a modern crocodile, only in a very enlarged version. And even their bite strength is a close comparison. It was also a skilled swimmer that probably attacked its prey in a very...
I think it's going to be a skilled swimmer, bro. Look at these fins. It doesn't even have any arms, doesn't even have any feet. I think it's going to be dominant in the water.
enlarged version.
I think it's on land. What's it? Oh my god, is this the cousin of the walrus? You seen a walrus go down the street? Have you seen that? That thing can't move. She can't motion, and it's scary.
And even their bite strength
But it
is
ain't
a
moving,
close comparison.
Not for a
It
long
was
period of
also
time.
a skilled swimmer that probably attacked its prey from the depths. Kronosaurus had a very powerful rib cage, 4 flippers, and a small tail. It literally gnawed at its victim, leaving no chance for survival. Kronosaurus couldn't have encountered Titanoboa. They lived in different periods, and even perhaps loved a different habitat. Kronosaurus could live in fairly cold southern seas, but Titanoboa loved a hot climate. But this didn't stop the two predators from instilling fear and terror into all living creatures in the area.
You're going to talk about like the humans? There were no humans alive at this point, right?
Now, let's imagine that these two monsters didn't die out and that they still peacefully coexist with us.
Okay.
Although, would it be peaceful? This is a big question.
I mean, I don't know, bro. I don't think you really want to come head to head with an anaconda when you're walking through the Amazon jungle. Aren't there like giant kitty cats and jaguars and stuff in the jungle?
If Titanoboa survived to this day, it could well be.
Like there was a streamer recently, wasn't there? I think it was Asian. And he was, I'm doing a little 24-hour thing, surviving in the Amazon rainforest. Yeah, you just know he's in a caged enclosure. Ain't no jaguars going to be around. At most, he's going to be bitten by an ant or something. But there's going to be medical professionals. It's probably went to like one of those places. He went to one of those places where like a millionaire pays to go and live the experience of living in the Amazon rainforest. Like it's a closed encounter, what's it called? Like a closed pen where nothing's getting in and nothing's getting out. That's probably where he went. Ain't no way he gonna risk his livelihood. He's living the dream, being a full-time streamer, making thousands of dollars anytime he goes live, getting sponsor deals and all this. He ain't risking that just for some childhood dream of living in the Amazon rainforest for a few hours. Or for a day, surviving it for a few days. Nah, that's content first, bye-bye. Agent seems like the guy to be that way as well.
Found in the equatorial tropics. For example, Titanoboa would love the hot climate of Colombia or neighboring countries like Venezuela, Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, or Panama. Obviously, people would have to more carefully protect their homes from the intrusion of Titanoboa. However, it's unlikely that the snake could crawl unnoticed into a house. It would have no trouble knocking out a window or even breaking a door. Fortunately, this behavior is still unusual for snakes. But all the same, in order to protect themselves from intruders, people would have to surround their homes with high-voltage fences.
Wow, that's incredible. Hey, I feel like Harry Potter and Nagini has put a bad perception on snakes for me. Like, I just can't view it. I feel like snakes are really fast, they're really dangerous, they're really whatever. They might be dangerous, but I don't think they're very fast, are they? They're slippery slamming around, bro. I don't even think they're slimy, but Nagini has really forever changed snakes to me, because that thing is terrifying.
And keep a big stun gun under the pillow.
Big stun gun. Buddy, I don't think a stun gun's gonna stop a snake. If anything, you're gonna pee it off even more. You're gonna supercharge it. Give them power to be up. I don't think that's gonna do anything versus snake.
Just in case. In noisy megacities, a huge snake would not have a single chance of survival. Only if the snake doesn't accidentally wind
Basilisk, another Harry Potter
up
reference.
somewhere under the heating main, a comfort that a reptile might appreciate. But food in the form of rats would hardly suit it. By the way,
Would hardly suffice. Going to harvest and eat any human that goes into its territory. Or humans who die. There's just so many people on this planet. Like, legitimately, we're all just organisms and we're all just useless. And you're either lucky enough to get a good life or you're just unfortunate enough to get a terrible life. And you can help a poor organism's life right now. Make sure you like the video, and after you liked it, if you're on mobile, hype the video. Give me your hype points. You get 3 a week, please. Sends me into a leaderboard, and maybe I get more views if you do that. Please make sure you subscribe. Hallelujah.
most likely she wouldn't be interested in people as a food source. In horror films, the anaconda often devours people. However, in reality, it rarely attacks a person. It can be assumed that its distant ancestor would also be indifferent to.
Again, this is actually real. Titanoboa is actually real. I don't understand how it died out. Did he answer that question? Because I don't.
Us. But for people, Titanoboa could be a welcome trophy. Any zoo in the world would dream of getting such a valuable.
And also, are we absolutely 100% sure that anacondas aren't Titanoboas? Are we 100% sure on that? Because I'm not convinced. Those things look massive anytime I've seen them.
Specimen.
Terrifying.
And its skin would be a real hunt. People who catch these huge snakes would become real national heroes. As for the super snake diet, in our world, it would find something to eat.
Crocodiles and alligators are just the freakiest animals to me. They just sit around for 12 hours a day and then like, bam, they use all that burst of energy to chase after one meal. And then that's it. And if they miss that meal, then they just sit there again and perish day in and day out, and if they don't get any food from doing that, then they perish. They just be wild. I saw a jaguar take on an alligator or a crocodile once. That was crazy. I think he won, but then he had to get out because he was out of breath. L Kitty. W Kitty, but L not being able to finish the kill.
Alligators, turtles, river dolphins would suit the giant in all respects. Animals on land would also have a hard time. Giant armadillos, manatees, tapirs, cougars, jaguars.
No, wait. No, like I just said, I saw a cougar take crocodile, bro. Oh, wait, we're talking about titanoboas.
Caimans and Brazilian otters would be cougars.
I think a jaguar would take a titanoboa, bro. That is the apex predator of the land, bro. That is in the jungles with massive claws, massive teeth, and it's fast moving. It would just shred up snake before the snake could do anything. The snake ain't going to be doing anything versus this. The jaguar wins versus a titanoboa. I don't care how big it is. The jaguar wins. How fast is a titanoboa? Imagine it. A titanoboa is going past, the jaguar's hungry, sees it. This is probably why they're extinct, because titanoboas are so slow. The jaguar takes a bite out of the mid part of a titanoboa. It takes the titanoboa half an hour to turn around and back up like it's a booty truck, reverse it into the McDonald's for the day. That's what it's doing. It's going to be dead before, it's going to be half open. It's going to have its tail cut off. It's like if you ever seen a worm and a bird go for a worm. The worm can't do anything versus it because it moves so slow and it's so small. Birds are super fast. They see time in slow motion. Literally, they live in the Matrix day in and day out. They ain't part of the simulation. They're on the next level part of the simulation. We all live in a simulation. There was a simulation video on YouTube that I can watch because I'm convinced we do live in a simulation. And little Goop Gop is controlling us all. And the one that's controlling me, I'm the NPC and I'm being controlled by the alien, the simulation. Well, he's terrible at the game, so I'm losing in life at the moment. If I start to win, it's because my simulator controller suddenly does a better job at winning the game. That's what happens. But anyway, jaguars beat titanoboas, and you can't convince me otherwise. Jaguars
Caimans and Brazilian otters would be endangered. Sure, adults would be too big, so cubs and young animals are what they need. Titanoboa wouldn't mind eating fish, since it's a more familiar diet. As a result, the food chain would be broken. Some animals would probably migrate to safer areas, but the fauna of the forests of Amazonia would be greatly impoverished. Although insects and fungi would start to flourish and evolve. Very soon, there'd be no trace of the once lush vegetation. Kronosaurus would hardly have liked life in our condition either. In ancient times, even turtles were the size of a kitchen table. Eat just one and feel full all day.
Yeah, but why is that? I feel like this guy hasn't even answered why they went extinct. Why were all the animals massive back then? Why were dinosaurs massive? And why is it that rabbits can't be giant? There's some sort of a law, isn't there? Some sort of a scientific reason why rabbits can't be like the size of an elephant. Because I'd quite like to own a rabbit the size of an elephant. I think that would just be the greatest thing on the planet. Or maybe would I rather have a rabbit that's the size of an elephant that was best buds to me and it'd let me ride it and it had fluffy ears and I'd be really warm in winter? Or would I rather have a massive tiger that could speak English? Chat, tell me in the comments whether you'd rather like a giant rabbit you could ride and it was cool with you but it couldn't speak, or whether you'd like a giant tiger that you could also ride that could speak, or maybe just a normal tiger that you can't ride but could speak. Which one would you prefer?
But such a monster would need about a dozen modern turtles, and then I still doubt it would be enough to eat. In addition to turtles, the ancient monster fed on Plesiosauria, but in our world, he'd have to look for an alternative. Most likely, it would switch.
Plesiosaura sounds like some sort of a code name on Twitch, where you already know their viewbot. She's a woman, she already viewbots, and she knows she's trying to direct you off the site to go to the OF. Plesiophilia.
Sauria. But in our world, he'd have to look for an alternative. Most likely, it would switch to large marine mammals.
Man, orcas are just so beautiful. You know what I love about orcas? You know what I love about whales, love about dolphins? Is that they actually, you can obviously tell that they play. You can obviously tell that they have fun because they start diving. Why would they dive and do backflips out of the water for any reason other than the fact that they enjoy doing that? They don't need to do that to expel the air or the water from their pipes. They do it because it's fun, and that's how you know that they're just organisms just like us.
wouldn't be able to swallow a whale all at once. But in parts, then sure, it could eat it completely. Such a huge body would need tons of food.
Stingray.
Like a giant meat grinder, it would sweep away everything in its path. People would suffer greatly due to a shortage of fish in the seas and oceans. Fishing itself would be very risky due to the existence of an underwater hazard. Ships would have to be built to be much more solid. And in the event of the extinction of whales, a climatic catastrophe would begin. There would be nothing to extract thousands of tons of carbon from the air. In the underwater depths,
Since when do orcas do that? I thought that was the... You're telling me they went extinct because if they didn't go extinct, then everything else would have went extinct. That doesn't answer the question of why they actually went extinct.
there would be a daily battle for life. Given the size of the monster and its ferocious disposition, there could only be one winner. We'd have to forget about tourism and sea traffic in the monster's habitat completely. This place would be marked on all maps,
Oh, I've got to go invade another culture to enjoy myself.
and anyone who dared to go there would practically write their own death sentence. If Titanoboa had the most valuable skin, then a Chronosaurus would have had its teeth. Small and sharp like a saw, they could cost more than the horns of a rhino.
See, why do people do that? Is it the ivory of a elephant that's used for piano keys? So why do we use a rhino horn?
Today, they're one of the most expensive materials in the world. Their
Material?
price
I don't understand how you can view something that you've got to get off of an animal material. You can't really harvest it that well.
is about $65,000 per kilogram.
For what, though?
More expensive than gold.
What are
By
you?
the-
What exactly are you using a rhino horn for? Yeah. How does that even make any sense?
Wait, did you know that there's a danger of the return of extinct animals to Earth? I'm not joking right now. Scientists don't rule out the possibility. First of all, I'm talking about Titanoboa. There's speculation that it lived at a temperature of 32 degrees Celsius. That's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And given the growth rate of global warming, such average temperatures can become a reality. I'm glad it will take millions of years.
Did it go extinct because it was hunted by early human beings? I don't think so. But regardless, I thought that was a fun video. That was a nice little video. It's also a different video than I've watched before. We learned some things, but not nearly enough, I think. If you detonated a nuclear bomb in the Marianas Trench, just fantasy, not science. Thankfully, they put that disclaimer there because I would believe anything that I've seen in this video.
What would happen if a nuke went off in the Mariana Trench?
Okay.
This is the Tsar Bomba, the nuke that Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev.
Wait, what?
This is the Tsar Bomba, the nuke
Why did you say bomba?
that Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev promised to show the West during the Cold War. 58.6 megatons of sheer, unadulterated power, with a subsequent blast wave that circled the globe 3 times.
You're telling me they activated this when they tested it out, and they tracked that it went around the globe 3 times.
And this is the Mariana Trench, the deepest crack in the Earth's surface. A canyon almost 7
Underwater,
miles
right?
or 11 kilometers deep.
It's underwater and it's where the massive squids live. You'll never get any cameras down there because don't they compress and explode or whatever, like that ship recently, that submarine recently of those arrogant people that went down. The Kraken lives down there. You heard it here first. The Kraken lives down there. Okay, it lives down there. It's convincing me otherwise. It's not some myth. It's not Davy Jones's locker. It's probably also down there. That's how you access Davy Jones's locker. You go down the Marianas Trench. The Kraken also lives down there. And if you ever see it, it's because it's going to eat you. Because it's taking its 50-meter long tentacles, of which it has about 50, and it's reaching up and pulling you down. They also have the capability of wearing aluminium or tin foil, so nothing will actually output out once you're captured and taken.
7 miles or 11 kilometers deep, up to 3 miles or 5 kilometers wide, and completely filled with water.
Okay.
The Tsar
All right.
Bomba was dropped from a height of 6.5 miles. That's about 10.5 kilometers, which is almost equal to the depth of the Mariana Trench. Coincidence? I don't think so.
Coincidence? I think not.
Incredibles. What do we talk? The teacher from Incredibles, when Dash goes into the classroom and he says, "Look, I saw him move," and of course he did move, but the teacher is being presented as crazy. Anyway,
We drop a nuke into the depths of the Mariana Trench for a good and proper kaboom.
yeah, that would be a classic human thing to do, right? Let's just blow some random place up in the middle of the ocean, bro. Well, don't they do nuclear tests in the ocean all the time? Right. So what about the radiation residue from the bomb that you've just dropped in the water? No wonder we're all dying because we're eating too much fish, or eating all different kinds of fish because the fish has got cancer itself.
Blow up the Mariana Trench. Before answering the question, what happens, we have to figure out a method for delivering the bomb to a depth of 7 miles or 11 kilometers, and it's not as simple as you might think. After all, the density of water is 1 gram per cubic centimeter, which means that at these depths, the water pressure will reach 110 megapascals,
That's why you
which is
get
1,100
crushed.
times normal atmospheric pressure. For our purposes, this means that a nuclear bomb with the standard outer layer of lead will simply get crushed flat, without detonating, of course.
Wow.
The amusing but lackluster end result would be a giant uranium pancake, 130 feet or 40 meters in diameter, ending up at the bottom of the Mariana Trench. This pancake will emit radiation for centuries, as the half-life of uranium is 2,000 years. But in this scenario, there will be no explosion. The charge won't be compressed to the point of critical mass, and the thermonuclear shell of the bomb will get torn off halfway to the bottom and dissolve in the water.
Right.
So let's say the bomb will be lowered down inside a bath escape. That's
So does it poison the water?
a deep-sea submersible designed to withstand high pressure and optionally be
I ain't getting on that. You can pay me $1 million to get on one of those boats and go down in a submarine and go to the bottom of the ocean. You can even if it's like a mile down, half a mile down, 200 miles down. I'm not doing it. I'm a human being. I don't have flippers. I don't belong in the sea. Dude, it's not going to work out for us. We are not. I don't know why people have a fixation of even snorkeling or scuba diving. Or maybe scuba diving's okay, but even then,
remotely controlled. In this case, we're gonna get our bang. And there's actually more than one way for that to happen. Designed to withstand high pressure and optionally be remotely controlled. In
remember, these guys are talking about let's put it in a submersible and take it all the way to the bottom of this Marianas Trench just to blow it up. What is this hypothetical?
this case, we're gonna get our bang. And there's actually more than one way for that to happen.
Let's just make it
One,
bigger.
if the bomb is detonated at a depth of between 3 to 5 miles, that's 5 to 8 kilometers, the explosion won't be that much different from your typical underwater nuclear test. Oh, except for a tsunami 400 feet or 122 meters high that will appear on the surface of the Pacific Ocean and completely wash away Japan and all of Southeast Asia. Also, half of Australia and the eastern region.
Whoa, you just think about that, because there's a tsunami, right, back in what, 2003 or something, 2001 or something like that. You remember that thing in Japan, and all those people stayed behind, like 50 people stayed behind to stabilize a nuclear reactor. I don't even know what they did or how they even did any of that stuff, but the amount of destruction that tsunami caused was astronomical, and it wasn't even like 100-meter wave, a little wave in comparison to a tsunami. So I believe 100% all those buildings and all the wires and all the connections and all the infrastructure, none of that's obviously built to withstand any amount of water just bombarding it and floating in. So of course everything's going to be destroyed anywhere on this planet.
And the eastern regions of China will see tremendous flooding. And the U.S. Pacific coast, especially San Francisco and Los Angeles, will be besieged with waves up to 250 feet or 76 meters. Other corners of the globe will get their share too, albeit somewhat milder, relatively speaking.
Sorry guys, I don't know how to react to this stuff and how to intertwine like Joe Barzioli, bro. I'm trying to learn how to do this more so I can make these other types of videos where I react to different stuff, but that is just wild to me, that fact that how the hell can a tsunami just travel that far? It's like that scene from Interstellar. That's one of the most incredible scenes of it that I think I've ever seen in a movie, because of the way it's built up, that entire scene where it's like, oh, is it mountains? It's a wave. It's a wave. I wish they made more movies like that movie, Interstellar. Those movies are actually interesting and would make me go to the cinema. I don't understand why they won't do that, but considering all the technology, and that Interstellar came out like 10 years ago. Where are all these movies, bro? We want these movies. We want these science fiction. We want these sci-fi movies. It's like Alien and Prometheus, and then they came out of that Alien Covenant. And I'm like, why didn't you just carry on the story of Prometheus? I want to know this fantastical idea of the creator. If somebody created human beings, the engineers, go into their backstory, go to their home planet, see what's up, Have them communicate. See their justifications or their motivations for wanting to destroy Earth. That's such an interesting story there. What do? They just do a rehash of the original Alien or whatever, or like they just turn it into some horror slop. How the hell does a tsunami go all the way through the world and go around the world? I don't understand why it takes miles upon hundreds of miles for it to stop. That's just...
Also, the background radiation in the Pacific will rise slightly for a few days before going back to normal. 2. If the bomb is...
The background radiation just goes up and then goes down.
The background radiation in the Pacific will rise slightly for a few days before...
That doesn't answer many questions, Mr. Riddle.
Going back to normal. 2. If the bomb...
You're telling me the radiation just dissolves if it's in the water. I don't understand that part.
At a depth of between 5 to 7 miles or 8 to 11 kilometers, or at the very bottom, then we'll have to take into account the fact that the Mariana Depression is located at the boundary between two tectonic plates, the Pacific and the Filipino. If the world's most powerful nuclear device is set off at this spot, the shock wave from the blast, reinforced by the hydrostatic effect, will produce a tremendous downward force precisely at the location of one of the lithospheric weak spots, the junction of tectonic plates. As a result, the plates will start either converging or diverging very quickly, and either option spells trouble for humankind. So,
this is the Mariana Trench and it's like hitting a certain spot.
If the bomb explodes at or near the bottom, we're not going to get away with just a really big splash. The energy received at the base will be transferred to the boundaries of the tectonic...
Is that real?
...plates at the... Energy received at the base will be transferred to the boundaries...
I don't think that's real.
...of the tectonic plates at the speed of sound. Part of that energy will be reflected back up from the bottom of the trench to be liberated at the surface in the form of a colossal, ultra-super tsunami. Only this time, the tsunami will be just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Next, we'll see massive magnitude 12 earthquakes occur across the entire ring of fire, which will then give rise to a second installment of mega uber tsunamis even higher than before. We'll next be treated to a gargantuan release of magma back at the area of the explosion. And this will set off a chain of volcanic eruptions to complete the picture, lest these survivors in the highlands assume they've been given a lucky break. This volcanic activity will continue for at least a month.
You know what's making me think about? Think about that Pompeii thing. That's so crazy to think that people just literally couldn't escape it. It's not that they couldn't run away. It's that they couldn't escape the ash that was falling from the sky, which then it killed them. But it happened so quickly. People were still standing as they died, burning ash or whatever. So if you opened a bag of flour and it was just everywhere and it just compresses on your body or whatever, that's what Pompeii was probably like. And that's why you get these statues of people that are literally just people just standing there. Ash immediately falls and suffocates and kills everybody.
So expect the Earth to be assaulted with seemingly endless acid rain, while the airborne ash will interfere with air travel needed for humanitarian missions, in addition to blocking out much of the light from the sun. To me, that smells an awful lot like nuclear winter.
You know what's actually interesting, guys? Do you think they're like hidden ships, like that movie in 2012? Where they have these massive ships that are like kitted out for the survival of human race. There's got to be something out there that governments have like created. There's got to be some sort of a spaceship that governments have created, right? Comment in the section below if you think that that's true. W call out, I'm a real YouTuber now. Make sure you like the video and then hype the video if you're mobile, please. Give me those hype points. You got free for every week. Give them to me. Hallelujah. How would they actually make those ships though? Because that would require people to make them. And so you'd have to get people signing NDAs. Or maybe it's they use the people that they've got in the underground facilities that they've raised from birth to just be underground, so they can use as a device to build stuff without anybody else's knowledge, because nobody even knows that these children even exist. Building massive ships that are going to float on the water when the tsunamis finally come because an asteroid hits Earth and they can't stop it with nuclear weapons type of thing. Oh, I'm telling you, this stuff is out there. No way in hell they haven't invented stuff like that.
At the very least, a couple of very cold years. Coupled with the tsunamis, the cold spell may result in globe-spanning catastrophe, with many species, including humans, ending up on the brink of extinction. There's also the possibility that
Jack, would you rather go extinct from an asteroid or be like the lingering leftovers of the survivors of an asteroid hitting Earth? I think I'd rather just be killed. The power went out yesterday where I live, and I can't do anything. I've got no ability to do anything out if the power goes off. Legitimately, it terrifies me day in and day out. But I think most people are like that these days, where their entire life revolves around turning on a computer every day, looking at a phone, recharging it, opening a fridge, turning on a kettle, turning on the oven, opening packages, and then cooking whatever in the packages. You know, it really makes you think we're screwed. We're literally screwed. We're all screwed.
Our bomba-type explosion at a depth of roughly 1.5 miles or 2.5 kilometers from the bottom of the Mariana Trench could punch a hole in the Earth's crust, sufficient to produce a magma fountain. The fountain would then form a new continent, while also bringing about the same tsunamis and environmental problems previously. Sufficient to explosion at a depth of roughly 1.
I got a lock in here. The magma is going to produce a new continent.
Or 2.5 kilometers from the bottom of the Mariana Trench could punch a hole in the Earth's crust, sufficient to produce a magma fountain. The fountain would then form a new continent.
What? So the bomb punches a hole in the crust of the magma core of the Earth. That then overflows and then creates more land. Is that how all this other land was created? Is that why they're saying that? Is that what the connection is?
While also bringing about the same tsunamis and environmental problems previously discussed.
Everything would just die again, like when the dinosaurs died.
In addition, the tremendous impact could push...
That would also mean it takes millions of years for it to get back to the stage where something like drives and exists. Wow, it just makes you think just how fortunate all human beings are to even exist. The fact that I'm sitting here staring into a camera attempting to get somewhere reacting to content or making reaction content is just a luck of the draw kind of a thing on top of all the luck of the draw kinds of things that led human beings to being where we are today. This is insane.
The planet very slightly out of its current orbit.
Why do cars even exist?
Either bring us closer to the sun, where we'll thoroughly fry.
Wait.
In addition, the tremendous impact could push the planet to form a new continent. There's extinction. There's also the possibility that a Tsar Bomba-type explosion at a depth of roughly 1.5 miles or 2.5 kilometers.
So they're saying if a bomb goes close enough to the center of the core of the Earth and it explodes, it has the potential to move the Earth out of whatever keeps it in its motion. I'm not a scientist. Whatever it is that keeps the Earth still where it is. To move the Earth closer to the sun? This is some Fast and Furious level science right here.
In addition, the tremendous impact could push the planet very slightly out of its current orbit. This will either bring us closer to the sun, where we'll thoroughly fry, with dear old Earth turning into something like a second Venus, or on the contrary, the impact might move our orbit further out, where we would descend into a kind of permanent...
I don't think this is true, no way. Just fantasy, not science, remember?
Winter. Finally, there's the possibility that so powerful an explosion at the location of a tectonic fault will simply tear the planet itself apart. The fate of humankind in that scenario is easy to see. Fortunately, however, the likelihood of any of the above happening is extremely low. As experience
yeah.
shows, in the end, humans
You haven't met human beings, bub.
are no fools.
What if we solve world hunger by exploding a massive bomb in the Marianas Trench?
Shortly after the
I like
successful
that idea. Let's do it.
atmospheric test of the Tsar Bomba in 1963, the nuclear club countries signed in Moscow a treaty banning nuclear weapons tests in the atmosphere. Test likelihood of any of the above happening is extremely low. As experience shows, in the end, humans are no fools. Shortly after the successful atmospheric test of the Tsar Bomba in 1963, the nuclear club countries signed in Moscow a treaty banning nuclear weapons tests in the atmosphere, in outer space, or underwater.
See, so that's why they don't use nuke bombs. Because they understand it's just going to kill everybody. And even the rich people who don't care, who are not going to go off to war, whose kids aren't going to go off to war, well, they care because it's going to be in the atmosphere and they're human beings. They're not actual gods, despite what they want you to believe. So they're going to breathe that air eventually, right? So they're just going to die. They can't escape it. So that's why they don't escalate to nuclear war. Because everybody just dies then. You can't, no amount of money, no amount of hiding underground, no amount of sophisticated filtration machines is going to stop the fact that it's going to be literally uninhabitable.
a safeguard of sorts to prevent future catastrophes.
That was actually an incredible video. I know it said it's just fantasy, but that was borderline science fiction at the end right there. And also, well, I guess some of these things could technically happen. I guess they could technically blow up or start testing nuclear bombs again and putting everybody at risk and type of thing. But I was a W video. I like that video. It was enjoyable. What killed people who opened King Tut's tomb? Tutankhamun tomb? Is that how you say it? Why the hell would you open a dead corpse's tomb? Like, what's going on with that?
This picture
Tutankhamun. I'm not saying it right, but it's funny.
shows the moment of Tutankhamun's tomb opening. It's the only tomb found in ancient Egypt that remained intact for 3,000 years. It appeared to be full of gold and artifacts. However, at least
Personal possessions. Hey, yo. This is actually my dream. I want my possessions to be buried with me, and I don't want them destroyed. I just want them in a giant tomb with me. Always with me, even in death.
at least 13 people who were present at the tomb's opening died soon after, and a rumor about the curse of the pharaohs spread all over the world. In addition, the researchers of Tutankhamun's tomb studied the mummy, examined the attributes surrounding it, and noticed that everything was way different from what it was supposed to be. Ancient Egyptians believed that a pharaoh came close to gods after his death and spoke to them on behalf of his people.
Yeah, nah. That's just a part of the thing or manipulation tactic into convincing society that these people are special whatsoever. Nothing about these people is special. They're just regular people that have convinced other people that they're special. Kings, queens, that whole thing is so bizarre to me. That's because I have critical thinking skills, or I can smell bullcrap a mile away, so I see it for what it really is, rather than people that is, oh wow, a deity placing all my value and worth in this type of thing. No.
That's why the mummification process was treated with special care, and tombs were decorated with great reverence. But why did they make an exception for Tutankhamun? Why did Osiris have his fingers cut off? And why does Tutankhamun's mummy baffle historians to this day?
Oh.
Why does the tomb itself confuse the researchers? Archaeologist Howard Carter and his companion, Lord George Carnarvon,
Companion. Hey. Are they rainbow?
were astonished when they entered the tomb of the glorified king in 1922.
Back in the day. So anyway, back in the day, we couldn't come out and say that we're gay, so instead, we said companion. Huh. My good old pals with me all times.
Pompous and spacious hall, they found themselves in a small, cramped room that looked like a warehouse. The location of the tomb also raised questions, as Tutankhamun was buried far from his royal ancestors. This, according to ancient Egyptians, prevented the pharaoh from being reunited with his family to rule in the spiritual world. Let's say the ancestors' tombs just ran out of space, but why wasn't there even a coffin for the pharaoh? All the indications are that Tutankhamun got second-hand attributes. He lay within a nest of 3 golden coffins, which fitted one inside another. They all look like the god of the dead, Osiris, lying on his back and holding the crook and flail in his crossed arms. But the middle coffin had a slight...
Earlier human history is just wild and crazy. Why is this person being buried in gold-plated? Meanwhile, you've got things like the catacombs where you just got millions of dead bodies just being thrown down there because they died of something, died of the plague or something, just all underneath Paris. And yet here you are, this guy, godlike figure, being wrapped up with all his personal possessions, being painted, handcrafted items, paintings and images on the wall.
Different style, and its face didn't look like the faces on the other 2 coffins, nor did it look like the face on Tutankhamun's death mask. Egyptologists assumed that among the 3 coffins, this middle coffin, along with some of Tutankhamun's other grave goods, was initially made for the mysterious Nefer-Neferuaten.
Pretty sure they meant to say Nosferatu here. It must be a miscalculation.
It turned out that this woman was an enigmatic ruler whose name is recorded in inscriptions on the walls. Apparently, she lived at the time of Akhenaten, Tutankhamun's father, but died earlier and could never assert authority on her own. Thereby, her trail got lost in history. In addition, the
Couldn't provide seed and air.
Undertakers cut off the part of the coffin that protruded from the sarcophagus, preventing the lid from closing. Later, archaeologists found fragments of Osiris sawn-off toes at the bottom of the sarcophagus. Nothing could erase the fact that Tutankhamun was buried hastily. After all, archaeologists found traces of readjustment everywhere.
This is what people did in ancient times, just straight up, hey, I'm going to live for you, master, I'm going to be slave for you, and I'm going to put this, we're going to build this giant tombs just for your death, even though we all know that nothing's going to happen after this death. It's all this mass manipulation tactics. I mean, it happens even in our times today. You just see all the propaganda everywhere. Everything that you read is been manufactured in a way to make you think a certain thing and make you feel a certain way and make you focus on other things that they don't want you focusing on, because they don't want you focusing on certain things that they're doing, yada yada. There's a whole elite collective of people that probably pull all the strings, yada yada. This is sort of reflected in stuff like this. Your body being, flesh being removed from your bone and put out into a catacomb, just completely nameless, nobody knows or remembers who the hell you are, versus this, oh, everybody knows who this person is. They've got a whole closet of their possessions and everything that's going and everything around and related to their life, and it's all buried underground in a very specific space and very specific place.
The tomb itself was intended for another dignitary. Likely, the pharaoh died suddenly and no one was prepared for that. But what was the cause of the pharaoh's death? There are so many of them that it's hard to settle on one. Tutankhamun was a child of...
Wasn't Tutankhamun like a child of incest or something?
2 siblings.
Oh! Utah.
As a result, he inherited genetic defects and congenital clubfoot. He was limping all his life and moved with a walking cane. 350 gold-plated, finely painted walking canes were found in his tomb. He had a weakened immune system and brittle bones. Signs of malaria were found in his mummy. Despite his...
How, after all these times, did they see signs of malaria? Bro is literally bone, right? How the hell could they see these things? Does malaria affect the bones? Why is it they obsessed with this? Gotta keep it in the family. Gotta keep all the power in the family, even to the extent of making any of your offspring live shorter lives. Didn't he die super young? Didn't he die at like 14 or 16 or something?
Ailments. The young king enjoyed the fun and took rides in a chariot. Maybe this is why the leg of his mummy is broken. But it's still unclear why the young king enjoyed the fun and found in his mummy. Despite his ailments, the young king enjoyed the fun and took rides in a chariot. Maybe this is why the leg of his mummy is broken.
It's broken, it didn't fall off.
But it's still unclear why there's no heart.
No. It's because of the incest. That's what it's because of. Weakened bones.
Since Egyptians never
Why does it even work like that, though? I don't understand why you'd become weaker because you...
removed this
Well, maybe I can understand, but I'm saying, why is that the case?
organ, believing it to be the center of a
Genetic
person's
diversity,
mind.
lack of.
King Tut's mummy is generally of low quality because it has a huge incision that no mummy has, stretching from the hip to the belly button. If we put all these facts together and attempt to assume how exactly did the young pharaoh die, we can get...
Is that supposed to be Tutankhamun? And like, bro ain't gonna be looking like that if he's incest. Bro's gonna be having a massive jaw, crooked nose. He's gonna, one eye's gonna be down here, the other eye's gonna be up here. One eye down here, up here, the other one up here. That's what the incest is, bro. Let's not make him look like an ordinary regular person.
Exactly did the young pharaoh die, we can get something like this. The crippled boy pharaoh with a terribly weak immune system took a chariot ride and fell off. But the chariot didn't continue moving straight. Instead, it turned around and went right across the king's chest. As a result, not only his bones were broken, but his heart was squashed as well. They tried to deliver his body to morticians as quickly as possible, but...
Hold on, you're telling me that a horse is so good at driving, it could reverse? Maybe just someone just killed him? Like, I feel like it's much more of a possibility than a horse thinking, I'm going to reverse up. You seen a horse backing up before? Those things take their time.
It started
Thinking this, God knows what it was, a Volvo truck.
to
What are we talking about here?
decompose faster under the beating Egyptian sun. Sure thing, Tutankhamun's tomb wasn't ready, so he was placed in a cramped closet. His poor body was barely carried and haphazardly mummified. All rituals had to
I'm confused. Wasn't he like the king or something? Why are they rushing?
be given up, and the heart spot was filled with a handful of scarab beetle amulets. 3,000 years later, archaeologists found him him and, as a cherry on top, dislodged a skull fragment when removing the poor mummy out of the coffin. But the list of weird accidents doesn't end even there. On top of everything, Tutankhamun's mummy was on fire. Egyptologist Chris Naunton and a team of forensic scientists performed a virtual autopsy on the young pharaoh in the Channel 4 television documentary, Tutankhamun, The Mystery of the Burnt Mummy. Further examination of the mummy's flesh fragment showed that
Flesh fragments. I hate to break it to you, player, but that's probably your fragments of flesh, because you ain't telling me that flesh is surviving for 3,000 years after it's been stuck in a tomb or whatever the hell. What are we talking about here? I don't think that's even possible. It's not going to survive that long.
it was set on fire or burnt.
You're telling me that because maybe it's burnt, like in Jurassic Park, where the bugs get caught in amber, and that's how they brought back the dinosaurs. You're telling me if something's burnt in a certain way at a certain temperature, keep the residual DNA or something?
It's unlikely anyone burned the king's body on purpose. Firstly, ancient Egyptians wouldn't presume to abuse the body of someone who, even after death, holds their destiny in their hands.
But they rolled over him with a horse that apparently acts like a Volvo truck carrying cargo. Apparently this horse is so good at its job it can reverse at 30 miles an hour. But this guy dies. Sorry, but this guy dies, and you're telling me they don't even be bothered to take their time in burying him properly when he's the king or something like that? What are we talking about?
And secondly, the mummy was burnt while still sealed inside his coffin. It's pretty hard to deny the existence of a curse under these circumstances, isn't it? But it turns out there was a lot of oil and resin on Tutankhamun's body. So much so that during the tomb's opening, the mummy had to
He's just a freak, bro. Original Diddy. Maybe he oiled himself up because he liked that, bathing in olive oil. Yeah, I'd like that.
be literally scraped off the coffin's walls. In the documentary, fire investigators demonstrated how a chemical reaction of the embalming oils used on Tutankhamun's mummy led to his spontaneous combustion. Such negligence during the embalming process is a rare exception. But what could the investigators who opened the coffin have?
Would you want to be turned into a mummy when you die? Yes or no in the chat if you made it this far. I don't know. They're going about embalming. So what? You're removing stuff and then you're tightly constricting the body in bandages. This is just whack.
Died of after a
Could they not spend their time doing anything more interesting?
series of unexplained deaths of scientists and archaeologists and members of their families. Many adherents of the idea of the curse of the pharaohs appeared in the world. Archaeologist Arthur Mace, radiologist Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, and Carnarvon's brother Audrey Herbert died within a couple of years after the tomb's opening. They were followed by a member of the Egyptian
Hey, yo. Looking pretty.
royal family, Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey, who was shot dead by his wife, Lord Carnarvon.
What?
To Kamel. They were followed by a member of the Egyptian royal family, Prince Ali Kamel Fahmy Bey, who was shot dead by his wife,
Why?
Lord Carnarvon, who, together with Carter, was the first to see the tomb, also died. But the curse adherents didn't consider the average age of the scientists, which was 74 and a half years. 57-year-old George Carnarvon died of pneumonia and was generally predisposed to
Really? You're telling me that interesting factoid they set up at the beginning of the video was solved because they are simply just older in an earlier time. They made it out to be like it was some sort of a cursed thing. Oh, 13 of them died shortly after. Shortly after? I thought you meant like 2 weeks. We're talking like 3 years. Please.
pulmonary disease his whole life. And Howard Carter, who was supposed to be the first to fall victim to the curse, died of natural causes at the age of 64, 16 years after the tomb's opening. Finally, Egyptologists point
16 years. That isn't shortly after.
out that there was no such concept as a curse in Egyptian religious practice. A large number of people involved in other tomb openings never experienced any mystical influence. However, whatever version you support, you're right. It seems that in Tutankhamun's story, there was room for both curse and accident. Apart from the fact that scientists are still unable to unveil the mystery of his death, newly available data is even more confusing. That makes Tutankhamun almost funny. He able to unveil.
I think like the art of this stuff of back in the day is interesting and beautiful, but it really just makes you think they spent all this time for all this grandiose or whatever, rather than spending time making life better for everybody. And that in itself makes it even more apparent to why people ended up rebelling in all these different civilizations, because eventually there's just a breaking point where people go, wait a minute, why are we doing all this work and doing all this stuff so you can live an incredible life and the rest of us just have to suffer? Even today in the year 2026, is that not true? In the first world countries that we live in. It's why I'm sitting here reacting to stuff on YouTube, trying to get somewhere, because I see all these other people sitting here making hundreds of dollars a day doing that type of thing, and I'm like, well, why can't I do that? Figure out how to do it. It's enjoyable, I guess. But that all starts with you. Make sure you like the video and hype the video right now after you've liked it if you're watching on mobile. Interesting feature. That'll give me more exposure, hopefully. And subscribe to me right now if you want to see me again.
The mystery of his death, newly available data is even more confusing. That makes Tutankhamun almost funny. He had more adventures than Mr. Bean, but there's still no comedy movie featuring him as the main character. Maybe that's because of the lack of an appropriate name. What do you think? A comedy about Tutankhamun?
I mean, that was an interesting video, but was it really? Because at the end of it, the investigators died because of just natural causes, and it was a short period of time after opening. That isn't 16 years, buddy. That's a long time.